Well, hello everyone, and welcome into our program tonight, the 6 screens of the Watchtower conference call, and we're glad you're on here with us. We have interviewing, that's what we do on this program. We interview people, and we have a great interview coming up tonight. We have a man that we have contacted, and he is writing a book all about the Jehovah's Witnesses. His name is Donald Brown, and he's going to be sharing things with us tonight that maybe you never heard before. He's an extensive researcher, and we're so glad to have Donald on with us. Donald, are you on with us tonight? Go ahead, say hello to us.
Hello, yep, I'm here.
All right, Donald. Well, my goodness, thank you very much. You're right on the ball. You're very, much into exposing the Watchtower. You and I have talked, and I'm very, very pleased to have you on with us here tonight. You are an extensive researcher. I do say that. Now, Donald, you've never been one of Jehovah's Witnesses, right?
Yeah, I never was baptized as a Jehovah's Witness. I did study with them very briefly in the early 1990s, and I didn't stay very long. I actually got out in a hurry, but I did study with them for a few months. But as soon as the controlling mechanism, or as soon as the controlling machinery started, I hightailed it out.
Yeah, well, no doubt. I mean, you sent me a copy of your book, and I've been perusing it, going through it, and trying to come up with things that caught my attention. But first of all, can we just let's identify what is the title of your book, Donald?
The title of the book is A North Korean Regime in the United States. Now, that sounds political, I know, but the reasoning behind that is because the Watchtower organization is run and managed a lot like North Korea. The people there, you have no freedom. You have no say in anything. You basically got to shut your mouth and listen to them. The governing body is to be worshipped pretty much. You got to listen to what they say, follow every word they say, or else it's curtains for you pretty much. And if you question the governing body, you get disfellowshipped. Of course, you get disfellowshipped for all kinds of reasons, but one of the reasons is if you question the governing body and doubt that they are the faithful and discreet slave and all this stuff, then you will be disfellowshipped and, of course, royally shunned.
Yeah, no. In fact, I found some of these points in your book interesting, and that's exactly what it is like in the Jehovah's Witnesses. But what I liked about it is when you are disfellowshipped in the Jehovah's Witness religion, that is like a form of execution, even though you're not executed, to death personally. But in essence, it is just very much the same. You are cut off from all of your friends.
Yeah, it is because when you're disfellowshipped, they actually think you're dead because that's what they relate to you as dead to them. To them you're dead. So yeah, you've been put into what I would call JW hell. Pretty much.
Yeah. So you say North Korea. I mean, why are you using North Korea? I mean, are they the worst as far as totalitarian is concerned? Why didn't you?
Well, if anybody has heard anything about North Korea, the North Korean regime is really brutal. They want you to follow all their rules, all their laws. You gotta attend certain events. If you don't, you can get in trouble. You can get in trouble for a lot of things over there. And that's why I related the book to North Korea, related the Watchtower to North Korea, because like North Korea, they control everything you do pretty much. You don't have any freedoms whatsoever. And with the Watchtower religion, the only freedom you have is to do the religion. That's it. No extracurricular activities. Kids can't make friends in school. And if they do have friends, they're supposed to disassociate from them. Kids can't play football. They can't play sports. You can't, you don't go to college. Now, of course, the college thing, they kind of relaxed a little bit on, but they still kind of frown on that because they don't want you to do higher education because they'd rather have you go door to door and do their bidding for free and not make any money with it. And if you do work, they want you to work a mediocre job that basically just pays the bills and that's it. They don't want you to have a career, because if you have a career, you can't do anything in the Watchtower because you're busy doing your career. So yeah, they take away your inalienable rights. You can't vote. You can't join the military. Can't celebrate birthdays. I can't think of. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can't do.
There's a million things, but let me ask you this now. You never were one of Jehovah's Witnesses. You studied, but I see you do have a real obsession. And, this is really interesting because, in my experiences of talking with so many people in the last 20 years, I found that there were a lot of people that never were witnesses, but they're not apostates per se, but they are opposers. So you are an opposer. Yeah. You're an opposer. You're an activist speaking up about the teachings of the Watchtower. But let me ask you, what is the driving force behind this? What would make you want to become like an activist and expose the witnesses? What's the force behind it?
It's the falsehood of the religion, the denial of the deity of Christ, the controlling machinery that they have, the false, the false prophecies that they've come up with over the years, just the way they treat their people, and the way they train them to believe everything they say, to the fact that they're so afraid to leave the Watchtower because they'll be destroyed at Armageddon, supposedly. And, they hold Armageddon over your head. That's the big rock that they hold over your head that they'll drop on you at any minute if you do something wrong. And they'll say, well, now you're disfellowshipped, so if Armageddon happens, poof, you're gone. Fireballs are hitting you already. And they got you to believe that, so you're scared to death to leave the religion, and you're going to do everything you're going to try to do for them, if it means doing it 24 hours a day, just to try to ensure your salvation, which you're not even guaranteed with them that you even have.
Well, it really is amazing to me that you are, you're so compassionate and you're so ready to expose these bums. I really appreciate the fact that you are, because that's what my passion is too. And many listening into this program, to expose this terrible organization. But I'll tell you, there's other things. I kind of just skimmed through the book, and my wife was reading portions of it, and we like what you read. You're a very good author. You really, really are. You write really, really well, and many things caught my attention. But one thing that I liked what you said is jw.org. Of course, that's their main website where they try to ensnare people. It's like a spider web, really, catch you in there.
Yeah.
But what I'm finding is that what you wrote about them, you're saying that they tell lies to the general public on jw.org. A lot of lies they tell, and but in the congregations, they're not really saying the same things they do on jw.org. Could you give us an example of what's going on here?
Well, what they do, the jw.org, I think, is mainly for the public, pretty much. I mean, witnesses do go to that, but it's their public face. So they, like, for example, they say they don't keep people from, believing in whatever way they choose to believe. But when you get into the Watchtower organization, that's not the truth, because they will try to steer you away from other beliefs, whatever they might be. And they make it look like that, they're in line with everybody else, that, hey, we don't take you away from your religion. We believe you should have the right to your religion, whatever it might be, and so forth. But then when you get on the inside, it's a different story. They tell that on the outside to get you interested. It's kind of like the poisonous cake. You got the nice frosting and stuff on the outside. It looks good, smells good. And once you bite into it, it's poison on the inside, and you're done for, pretty much. But yeah, that's their public face, pretty much. And so they're going to do their best to make everything look good on the outside.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. I'm glad you're on the same team that I'm on, because I feel the same way. Because they do have, people ask questions, they allow questions, but I'm sure they're just pre-canned questions. They're not questions from really people that are just coming into coming into their website. But they'll
even like the shunning thing. I'm sure you've seen videos on that where lawyers talking about that they don't really shun that. What they'll say, I know I heard one lawyer say in one of their presentations that they don't completely shun, but that the person that gets excommunicated or whatever still has normal family relations and blah blah blah. But yet you go watch those Sonia Erickson videos. That's a different story altogether. There's no normal family ties there. She's trying to call her mother. Ring, 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 ring. No answer. So, go figure that one out. I mean, that the mother's not answering because they're taught not to answer a phone call, not to text or anything. And the poor girl, she could have been in some sort of trouble or whatever, and they're not answering their phone. But yet that lawyer stood up there in that court case and said, oh, normal family relations still take place. They just don't talk about spiritual stuff. He made it look like that they don't really shun when he knows they really do. He's just lying his face off.
Oh, yeah. Well, they'll say that, well, we don't shun, we avoid. Well, there's not much difference with that. I mean, really, they'll play.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, they'll play games. They'll change definitions, but that's what they do. But what fascinates me here is again the fact that you are dedicated to really exposing these bums, and we do like that. Now let's just talk about this for a second. Universal human rights. In your book, you talk about universal human rights. We all have human rights, and the universal around the world, humans should have rights that we should be able to exercise. But we have these totalitarian, controlling governments and organizations that try to come in and take our human rights away. Now, when one joins the Watchtower, I just want you to expand on this. How is it that when you become one of Jehovah's Witnesses, your human rights are taken away from you?
Well, back like I said earlier, you're not allowed to vote. You can't join any political office. You can't join any other religions. If you go to another church, you'll get disfellowshipped. They take away your right. Now, this is a little bit personal, so hopefully there's no children listening here, but they even control what you do in your bedroom with your spouse. You can't touch each other. You know what I mean. You can't do that, and it's just a lot of real heavy control. The only rights you have in the organization are the rights that they say you have, which is going door to door, studying for meetings, going to meetings, and stuff like that. But as far as the rights to have friends outside of the religion, no, you're not allowed to have them. They tell you to cut them off. Matter of fact, if you're studying with the witnesses in the beginning, they'll start that. They'll ask you who your friends are. They'll ask you what your hobbies and stuff are. And it may sound like they're asking out of curiosity, but they're doing that for a reason. Once they find out who your friends are, then they start telling you, you should disassociate from them because, they're not in the truth and they're not witnesses and all this stuff. And before you know it, you get so indoctrinated that is what you do. You cut your friendships off with them and you stick with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and that sets you up for disfellowshipping, because that's how the disfellowshipping thing works. They take you away from your family that's outside of the religion. They take you away from your friends that are outside the religion, so that once you're away from them, then if you ever get disfellowshipped in the organization, then you have nobody. You're stuck. You're alone. You're totally alone. That's how they come up with the idea that you're dead, because in a sense, in a way, you become dead because you have no friends no more. The witnesses have abandoned you. They don't talk to you. They don't email you. They don't call you. You've already cut off your outside friends, so you don't have them no more. So you're basically in a position where you have to come back, or at least they think you have to come back. And some people would do that. They'll come crawling back into the organization again because that's all they have left. And so the rights that are taken away are just the basic rights that we all were born with. The rights to have friends outside any religion, the right to be happy, the right to pursue activities, But with the witnesses, you can't do any of that stuff. You can't go play football. You can't play basketball with the neighbors down the street. You can't do any of that stuff. You have to stay in your home, study, go to school, go to work, go to meetings, yada, yada, yada. All that.
Well, no, it's very fascinating because what happens too is you don't really realize it, but when you
no, you don't.
When you are going to be baptized into the witness religion, they do ask you a series of questions. I mean, there's a lot of them, not just 10 or 12. In fact, at one point there was over 200 questions that they used to ask you.
Yeah.
So you don't realize what you're really getting involved in, but by answering those questions and being to the affirmative with that organization, you're really signing your rights away. You in essence have left your human rights in the United States, and you join some strange, aberrant organization that is now going to dictate to you how to behave, what to say, what to do, how to act, all of that. It's what
to wear, whatever,
Yeah.
And the baptism, and then of course the baptism thing, their baptism is totally unscriptural. I mean, when you look at the Bible's version of baptism, it says you baptize in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, right? Or Holy Spirit. The Watchtower's baptism is sort of the same until you get to the last part. They baptize in the name of the Father and the Son, and I don't know how they say it now, but it was at one time God's Spirit-filled or Spirit-directed organization. So they removed the Holy Spirit out of the baptism, and they added their organization. And if you think about that, what they've done by adding their organization into the baptism, basically what they've done is they considered their organization as deity, because it says you're baptized in the name of. Now notice I said name singular because that's what the Bible says. So there again, they're posing themselves as deity by adding their organization in with baptism, and that to me is very, very bad. That's a very bad thing to do.
Well, no doubt it is. It's something though that's so strange that the Watchtower has got away with this for so many years, Donald. But all of a sudden now, the world is catching up on them. You might be able to pull the wool over people's eyes for many years on these subjects, but all of a sudden now the world is waking up and they're realizing how evil the Watchtower is. And you can't.
The Watchtower, of course, is trying to bury their history, but they can't because it's already out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just what we're discussing on the program before this. That there's just too much out there. Even Jehovah's Witnesses, they're leaving in droves, and it's very, very difficult for them to leave because they know when they leave that their relatives and friends that are still in the organization, they're going to be shunning them and calling them all kinds of names and agents of Satan and all of this stuff, and it's very hard.
Everything with the witnesses that's not witnesses is the devil, and that's interesting because while they're calling everything satanic, the upper echelons of that religion, that is the governing body and whoever else runs the show up there, guess what? They've got their hands very deep in Satan's pockets. They're not neutral like they claim they are as far as political stuff. They have to be in cahoots with the government in one way or another in whatever country they're trying to get into, because they want to make sure they can get their religion in their country. So they're going to try to be involved in that I think as much as they can be. But no, while they're telling the witnesses that everything else is of the devil, that the news media is of the devil, that everybody's apostates and all this stuff, at the same time they're saying that, on the other side of their mouth, then stuff, they're getting money from all these other organizations. They're getting rich. I mean, they're how do you think they get all the money to build all these properties and all this real estate and stuff?
Well, no doubt, Donald, you're doing your homework. I mean, you do know a lot about the witnesses, and I mean, they really are moving in a direction that is doing more harm to the witnesses than any time before in human history. So we now have established that universal rights, human rights, are taken away from you if you do become one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So people listening into the program tonight, please take that to heart. If the witnesses knock on your door, understand if you join them or if somehow they try to recruit you into the cult, that your human rights will be taken away from you. And, when you're yes, it will be. And I know, too, that another interesting point that I skimmed through when I was going through your book is discerning disfellowshipping. Now, disfellowshipping really isn't even based on the Bible. It's based on the flock book. Now, that's true. I know I was disfellowshipped, and I was disfellowshipped for the worst thing you could be disfellowshipped for, and that would be apostasy. And that's what they told me I was being disfellowshipped for. But, the strangest thing is they didn't read me any scriptures. I don't remember any scriptures that were read. I don't remember. And even, if you in a Christian religion, if they're Christian, they claim they are, but they're not. But in a Christian religion, think about this, Donald. Now, if you had a brother that went astray, Jesus indicated, go out and grab that brother and bring him back in, bring that lost sheep back into the flock. But if you have a brother that goes astray and he's becoming an apostate, don't you think before you would sit down and have a meeting with that brother, you would pray over that? They don't do it.
You would pray. Yeah, you would pray over it. You would show them scriptures. You would lovingly talk to them. You wouldn't judge them. You wouldn't, you wouldn't try to find out all the details of what they did. I've watched a lot of judicial committee meetings over YouTube, and it's interesting how these elders, they interrogate you. It's almost like these. It reminds me of these movies where you see someone being interrogated by the police, where they just ask you tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of questions, especially the women. When it comes to a sex case, they want to know every little jot and detail about it. And I think there was even a lady that her rapist recorded the rape, and they played it in the judicial committee meeting over and over to her. It just really rubbed it in her face, and it's just that's, and these judicial committee meetings, I don't know why the U.S. government hadn't put a stop to it, because those guys are not allowed to practice law. They're not lawyers. They're not judges. They don't have the right to do that kind of thing to people like they're doing, and yet, when you go into one of those judicial committee meetings, you can't have a witness. You can't bring in your notes. But boy, when the Watchtower gets in trouble and they go to court, guess who's sitting next to Jeffrey Jackson at the Australian Royal Commission? His lawyer. He has his defense, but yet a witness can't have their defense because they did something in the organization that they shouldn't do.
Well, that's a darn good point. It's really nothing but a kangaroo court, and I could see that too when I was being disfellowshipped. It really was crazy. I recorded the whole thing, and I had a secret. I had what I did is I took an older publication, Watchtower publication, and I took a razor blade and I cut the pages out, and I put a little tiny Sony recorder in there, and and so it was recorded. The whole thing was recorded on tape. And the strangest thing is it was a 3.5-hour judicial committee hearing. And so the tape was playing and all the things they said and accused me of and all of this. But the strangest thing was they asked me to go out of the room.
And you left the recorder in the room.
And the recorder was in there, so they asked me to go out of the room, and they were going to talk to each other and see what they're going to do with me. But I mean, I knew I was a dead duck to begin with, so I knew I was.
Oh, yeah, you
yeah,
always know that when
yeah.
you go into those.
So
I've never seen one of those meetings yet, but someone wasn't disfellowshipped.
Yeah. So I knew I was going to be disfellowshipped because, I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, it was protesting in front of the Kingdom Hall and all of that. So I just went there for the sake of getting it recorded. But I knew the final outcome.
Did you notice? Of course, I'm sure you did notice. But I noticed on one meeting that somebody recorded that instead of referring to the Bible, they went and opened up that so-called secret Shepherd the Flock of God book.
Yeah. Well, even during
that was their guidelines for disfellowshipping, was that stupid book.
Yeah. Well, the strangest thing is, I remember when I went in, and of course, I don't know if you know it or not, but I was of the anointed class. I was a partaker. I was of the 144,000, and so in fact, I'll tell you what, Donald. I didn't share this with you, but I was actually invited down to Bethel. I was in good standing, and I was invited down to Bethel for an interview for a potential position on the governing body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was back in that was back in 2000. I don't tell that story too much on here, but just to give you a little background. But in my judicial committee hearing, they sent me out of the room, and I brought up so many things to them in the hearing. I brought up the fact that, they were covering up child molestation. Now, this was back in 2005. Even then, I mean, it was big time then. It's bigger now. Yeah. But I brought that up then. I also brought up the fact that, the shunning is hurting people, people are committing suicide because of it. I brought up the UN and how they were involved with the UN. And, I brought all of this up. And I told them that's the reason why I'm standing aside from the teaching of the Watchtower, because they're not telling the truth. So they didn't like that. Yeah. So they sent me out of the room. I went out, and but I had the recording going, and then I could hide. So I went in, and of course they said, we have to disfellowship you for apostasy. But, in fact, I even asked them. Now, this is crazy, Donald. When they brought up the charges of apostasy, they said, Rick, we have to disfellowship you on the charge of apostasy. I says, well, can you give me the definition of apostasy? And there was 4 elders in there, Donald, and not one of them answered. I says, well, what can you tell me what apostasy is? If I'm being charged, as they said, for the worst possible crime. As a matter of fact, I was even worse than an apostate. They said that where you were being anointed and partaking, you were now a member of the evil slave. So I was a notch above an apostate. And I says, well, could you give me the definition of apostasy? And those 4 elders did not have a definition. So I had the flock book with me. I says, well, let me read you what the definition of an apostate is according to the Watchtower. And then I read it. And what it is, an apostate is a standing away from the teachings of the Watchtower. And, I mean, they didn't know it, but I read it right from the Shepherd book. But anyways, they did disfellowship me, and I'm glad I had the recording on. And I have to tell you that it is with the most listened to recording ever of a person being disfellowshipped. It was an amazing thing. But I'm so glad, as I always tell the audience, Donald, I'm so glad that Satan kicked me out of his organization. Yeah. So, it's amazing. It's amazing what these guys get away with. But let me just go back in here for a second. There's a few other things as I was going through your book and skimming through it and what have you. But in North Korea, the people are actually praised. I don't know if they make any money for it or not, but they're at least praised for tattling on others. So that happens in the Watchtower. Jehovah's Witnesses, they do.
As a matter of fact, I was living in Houston at the time that I was studying with the witnesses, Now, I got to let everybody know here on the call, I am a legally blind individual. I have some vision, some usable vision, but I use when I'm walking with a person with full sight, I use a technique called sighted guide, which is basically the blind person or vision impaired person taking the elbow of the person they're walking with. Now, I was walking down the street with a neighbor friend of mine. It was a lady. Her name was Anna Maria, and we were going to the grocery store. Well, it just so happened that, now I didn't notice this right at first, but it just so happened that one of the sisters from the Kingdom Hall happened to be driving by, may not right near me, but had seen me walking with her. Well, the next time she picked me up to go to the Kingdom Hall, she started counseling me on that, saying that that was bad association, that I shouldn't have been walking with her, that she's not a Jehovah's Witness, that she's bad association. And when she said that, that's when I started seeing the machinery of the control thing working. I knew then, I thought, okay, this is not too cool. But I stayed with it for a little bit, thinking, well, okay, maybe this isn't such a bad deal after all. But it got to where more control was taking place. So that's when I hightailed it out of there and I didn't even finish my studies. I didn't even finish the Live Forever in Paradise on Earth book.
Well, good for you. I mean, you saw that these guys were nothing more than non-Christian cult. You could see it, or a Christian cult, I should say. Yeah, you could see it. Yep.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call them Christian.
No, I wouldn't either. They call themselves Christian, but no, they're a cult.
Yeah.
Well, Donald, it's amazing. It's really amazing. I mean, you're writing this book. So is the book finished now, or no? You're still writing it, right?
The book is finished. Is it okay if I tell people where they can get it?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, tell them now, and then we'll tell them again at the end of the program. Go ahead.
Okay. The name of the book again is A North Korean Regime in the United States. Now, the place where you can get it from is kind of a strange deal right now because I don't have a domain for it yet. The domain that it is sitting on is the domain for my radio station, but I have a folder on there where I'm working on a website for my other books that I'm writing. But the place to go to for that is hit-mix-radio.com/textsell, TEXTSELL. And when you go there, you're going to see a page that's talking about my new website. But at the top of that page is the link that says religion. And that's one of my categories. I just started putting my categories in there, so that's the only category I have on there. But if you click on that religion link, the page you'll go to next is where the religious stuff will be. And the first item on that page, well, the only item on that page right now for the religion section is that book. And at the bottom, there's an order link for it.
Well, right, that might be a little difficult for the audience here to listen. So why don't you do this? Why don't you send me the information, type it out, send it to me at jw.org, jwworldnews@gmail.com. Send it to me there, and then I can dispense it to the people that are asking for it. So just write it all down, and I'll just forward it to people that are asking where they can get the book. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
All right. So that'll be good. So let's go on here because it's fascinating me. There's a couple other things here that I found very much of interest, really, is, in fact, the Watchtower plays such a big role in a person's life once they commit to that organization. Their whole world could be turned upside down in a heartbeat if you no longer want to follow the dictates of the Watchtower. Just for example, you brought up in the book about you could be evicted from your home. So suppose you were renting a home and I knew a man that was doing this. And if you were renting a home from a Jehovah's Witness, and geez, you had 3 or 4 little children, and you no longer wanted to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and the landlord was a Jehovah's Witness, they could kick you out of the house. So there goes your house. Yeah. Nowhere to live, There
goes your house. And if you work for one, if you're disfellowshipped and you work one, there goes your job too.
Yeah, because I've
it's brutal. It's really downright. If there was a worse word than diabolical, I would say it. But the only word I can say for that is diabolical. It is pure satanic.
It is. Hey, listen, I think we do have a caller. Do we have a caller, 503? Did you want to say something, Donald? Go ahead, 503.
Yeah, am I on?
You're on the 6 screens. Yeah, go ahead, miss.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'm 61 years old, and I grew up in the witnesses. I'm the 4th generation. I just got out last year. Yeah, I'm a victim of sexual abuse, and torture. My dad tortured me and my brother, and no help whatsoever. I knew if I got baptized, I'd be disfellowshipped or something as soon as I came out of the water. So I didn't get baptized till later in life. But they were trying to disassociate me my whole life. They'd come over and tell me how bad I was, and for my mom to kick me out, and I wasn't even baptized. I wasn't even going at that time. Yeah. So, yeah, this is such a cult, but I think how they get you the most is they have you doubt yourself. As long as they can keep doubt in your mind, thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm the 4th generation, so, I'm not that, smart. I'm not smarter than my relatives and everybody else is in it. Then why am I thinking of going out? Because, there has to be something true about it, or my whole family wouldn't be in it. And so when they make you self-doubt yourself and think, it's me, it's not them, it's me, and that's how they get you.
Yeah, that's how they get you. That's how it is. It's always your fault. It's never them. It's always you, and they're real good about kicking people out who have been abused, because they protect the abuser. Because if you've noticed, if you want to turn in, say, a child molester to the authorities, they'll threaten you with this thing of, well, you're going to be bringing a reproach on Jehovah's name. But this is where you can tell they haven't read their Bibles, because you remember, you remember the story about Achan?
Yes.
And God said there was sin in the camp, and Moses, I think it was Moses and Aaron, they had to find out who it was, and when they found out who the sinner was, they killed Achan and his family, but they dealt with it. Whereas the witnesses, if you want to turn in a child molester, they say, no, you're going to be bringing reproach on Jehovah's name. Well, to me, keeping a child molester in the group and supporting the child molester itself is bringing reproach on Jehovah, because you're holding on to a criminal.
Well, my dilemma was it was my own father.
Yeah.
It was my own father. But I learned very young about the 2-witness rule. My dad had went to an elder, he had seen an elder when he went to the store, and I was with him, and I was young, and I heard my dad tell him, he said, I could call you a no-good SOB, and there isn't a thing you can do about it because you need another witness, and she's not going to say a thing. So I knew it was a given.
Yeah.
That I had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And then when my dad left my mom and had 2 kids out of wedlock, and they were girls, I did call the Kingdom Hall he was going to and told him that they had a predator in their Kingdom Hall, and I had documents from the courts and everything for it. And they said, well, we look up our own documents. I said, well, I can send it to you, and you can see where I found it, and you can, find them. Well, I called them back about a week, and they said, Oh, we didn't find nothing on him. This man, my dad, had went to prison for a bombing of a man and 2 children in the car. And they could not find nothing on him, and he was welcome into the Kingdom Hall and around everyone else's children, and taking advantage of my half-sisters. And nothing was done. Nothing was done. And I thought about 2 years ago, I'll try to go back. And there was 2 elders that came, and one of them told me to my face, they don't treat child molesters like that anymore. Just lied to my face.
Yeah, that's
just
what they do.
Here and lied to my face. And I'm just waiting for him to show up. I haven't seen him in 2.5 years. But if he shows up, I have all kinds of stuff written down, and I want to know what, not that I care. I'm to the point I don't care anymore, and I'm not mad. I'm sad. I'm really sad that it is ignored to the point that, children are actually abused, and they know. We had an elder that told me when I was little, if I'd stop biting my fingernails until they bled, if I would stop, he would buy me a doll. Why would a little girl be biting her nails clear till they're bleeding? If there wasn't something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why they don't report things is it's down to one thing, the dollar bill. That's their God. The money is their God. They are so adamant about protecting their bank accounts and their assets that they will do anything to shove everybody else under the bus except for the one who really needs to be put under the bus, and that's the offender, the true offender. Instead, they harbor these people. They keep them in the organization. They lie to your face, tell you it's bringing a reproach on Jehovah's name if you turn them in. So they make you feel guilty, and they know that if they tell you that, they're thinking you won't do anything about it because, after all, you don't want to bring reproach on Jehovah. But what it is, it's not Jehovah you're bringing reproach on.
Wait, I think you hit the nail on the head because my dad had a lot of money. And before he died, he had cancer. He had esophageal cancer. And he was arguing with his new wife about a will. He was going to donate his share to the Kingdom Hall. He was going to donate all of his money. And they argued to the point he moved into their other home. And he died before he could make a will. I'll be damned. Isn't that a shame?
Oh, yeah. Yikes.
So his assets were to be divided amongst his 4 children. Yeah, because he didn't make a will. But that's what he was planning on doing before he died. But it hit him so quick, he didn't have a chance. And I think when we talk about Jehovah's hand, I think Jehovah had a hand in that one. And I laughed.
Probably so, yeah. But they're so adamant about protecting their assets. That's why when they go to court, they lie in court, and they know they're lying. They know it right from. If they don't know they're lying, their brains are fried because they know they're lying. I mean, they know, like Jeffrey Jackson and the Australian Royal Commission, when he said it would be presumptuous to say that we are God's one and only true organization. He was chicken to even defend his own faith. And he's the leader of that faith. He was chicken.
Well, yeah, and then he expects other countries like Malawi to be persecuted so they can just do that persecution porn,
Oh, yeah.
type stuff. But when it comes to them...
Yeah, it's like, and then they can say, "Oh, look, we're poor Jehovah's Witnesses. We're being persecuted." Wah wah wah. Yeah. And they play that persecution thing a lot. They say that because the courts are going after them that they're being persecuted. That's not. They're not being persecuted. They're being brought to court for crime.
Right. They're doing something wrong. It isn't that they're just being singled out to, it's like, oh, they're Jehovah's Witnesses, we're going after them. No, they're told not to do something, but they go ahead and do it anyway. And then they say, why are they picking on us? Because you're breaking the law. You're breaking the law, so of course,
I'm not one for Russia, but I do give Russia credit on banning them.
Yes. Well, me and my daughter both got out, and you know how we got out?
How'd you get out?
It's funny. What woke us up was it was the memorial of last year that we had to do it at home. And I made the bread, and my daughter bought the wine, and we split it. She took her half home, and I had mine. And after, we were on Zoom, and they pray over the wine and the bread and bless it, right? Well, then they don't tell you what to do with it afterwards. So here I'm sitting here with my wine and my bread that I can't eat or drink, and it's been blessed. It represents, Jesus' blood and his flesh. And what do I do with it? Throw it in the trash with, what?
I'm sure you know your Bible pretty well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. You remember when Jesus said, if you don't eat my body and drink my blood, you have no life. So with that being said, Jesus said that himself. That means every single Jehovah's Witness that doesn't partake, guess what? They're screwed. There's no hope for them.
Right. I started doing research. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I've been denying Christ's body, and his blood my whole life. And it's not denying it, I'm rejecting it.
Yeah, you're rejecting it.
Yeah, it made me sick, and I called my daughter, and I'm going, well, what did you do with your blood and your bread and wine? She goes, I don't know. I have it in the fridge. And I said, well, I have mine in the microwave because I don't know what to do with it. If it was important, don't you think that they would tell the people what to do with it since they can't partake, right?
Yeah.
And that disturbed me so much that I started doing a lot of research, and I started watching different channels. That's how I got listening to Six Screens, and I felt like I was watching porn. You know how you have that guilt? Like I'm sneaking, and I live alone.
Well, that's how they get you to think.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've got to figure this out because this is not right.
There are people that, just like you mentioned, there are people that when they're on their way out of the witnesses and they go to the so-called apostate websites, some of these people are literally shaking physically, literally shaking in their boots because they're so afraid that an elder is going to pop up on their computer and find out that they went to an apostate site, which it's not necessarily apostasy, but they call it that. But that's how these people are brainwashed. They're trained that way to where they're so afraid to touch anything on the outside of that stupid organization. And that's the way they want people to be.
Well, some people think, well, you just want to get out. It's not that. I was so scared. I was lost. I was so lost. I didn't know where to go or what to think. I mean, first time in my life I felt alone and no God, no nothing, because I didn't know. I was lost. I mean, completely, utterly, and I would break down crying, and I was so downhearted, and it's taken me a year to try to figure out, and I'm not going into any other religion right now because I've been burnt with Jehovah's Witnesses so bad that I'm just, I just pray to God to please just don't forget me yet. I've got to continue to figure this out. It is so devastating.
He has not forgotten you, and don't worry about it because If you trust Him, if you trust Jesus Christ, you are okay. You just keep trusting in Him. Don't worry about the Watchtower religion. Don't worry about what they've taught you. I know it's easier said than done, but you're out of it. So you're out of it now. So now you can move on with your life and heal. You know, you can heal from this.
Well, that's the whole thing. You have to heal. It's like if, you know, it's like I'm not trying to be, you know, buck against the system or against religion. It was not right. And I couldn't see myself doing another memorial and tossing the bread in the trash or something one more year. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I just could not.
That's because that's because what was inside of you knew the real truth about the emblems, you know, that you were receiving. You knew that you were supposed to take them because of what Jesus has said. And see, that's the thing. You know, Jesus said, if you don't take this, you don't have life. Well, that means for the Jehovah's Witnesses that don't partake, they shouldn't even be talking about paradise earth. There's going to be no paradise earth for them because they have no life.
Right.
So how can they get a paradise earth?
Well, you know, every Jehovah's Witness I've ever encountered, they're always saying, well, I hope I make it. No guarantee I will, but I hope. No one said definitely I am, you know. And but, you know, if they're not taking the, you know, his blood and, you know, and his flesh, they're not going to make it because, you know, it was a commandment, you know, and so they're, you know, the scripture where it says they're not going in and they don't allow others either.
Yeah.
Well, that pertains to the Jehovah's Witnesses. The governing body is going in, and they're not letting anyone else that follows them to go in either.
Nope, because they're exclusive, and they're the exclusive group. You know, the two groups that Jehovah's Witnesses have. That's how you can tell they're cults, because these cults have to have classes of people, and always one of their classes is usually an upper echelon group that's at the top always, and they're the ones that get all the privileges.
Right, and if we're all created equal, there should not be, you know, well, you're a special pioneer and you're you know, you can work your way to the top. Well, we're supposed to be all the same in God's eyes. There shouldn't be ranks. You know, there shouldn't be hidden books, you know, for the elders. It should all be open and clear for everyone. And
there was a video I saw a while back. There was a video I saw a while back on YouTube. Speaking of those hidden books, I don't remember who the person was, but they were talking to an elder's wife. Now, she was doing street witnessing. She was at one of the carts, and she said she wasn't even aware of the Shepherd of the Flock book, Flock of God book. She didn't think it existed.
I wasn't aware of it either.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't. You know, but apparently there is, and I believe there is. I believe they're all lying. They're money grubbing. It's just a racket. Because the truth would be the truth, and if
it doesn't change,
it don't change. If Russell started it, and this is what was from God, then God is just screwing with them, because the religion is so far from when it began. It's not new light. It's nothing. It's just changed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. So I just thought I'd call in. I've been watching you guys for the last year, and I just wanted to call in and say, yeah, there's a lot of us out here that have been abused and abused by the Kingdom Hall elders also.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a pity. It's a pity, but you know.
Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, caller, for coming in. Can we get a name? Do you want to give us your name? No.
Yeah, my name's Jody.
Yeah, Jody, in fact, thank you for calling in. I think this is the first time you called into the Six Screens, right?
It is. It's the first time that I called in. But, you know, all they have no hold on me anymore. Everyone that, you know, that I really care about or whatever, they're all dead. They can't hold nothing on me. So my last name's Mulligan. So I don't care if they know who I am or not.
Well, thank you.
I'm out. I'm out of there.
Well, thank you, Jody. Well, really, I really appreciate you calling into the Six Screens. Now, don't you be a stranger. You come back and see us again, okay?
Well, I appreciate talking to you. I enjoy all your information that you get for us. And without you, you know, I might not have made it as far as I have getting out. And I do appreciate you and what you do for us. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. It's we're all learning together, Jody. So keep up the good work. Keep waving that flag and come back soon and see us. Thank you.
Heck yeah. Okay, you too. Thank you.
Well, there you go, Donald. I mean, here we have people. We got more people who want to call in, so let's take them right now. It looks like we have. Well, go ahead. We've got 614. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, like Don, I'd like to make a comment about you say that they say one thing in the jw.org and another thing at the Kingdom Hall. My elder friend, we talk back and forth constantly, and he knows my stand, and I know his position too. But one of the things he says is, you can look it up on Jehovah'sWitness.org. We don't believe we're the only true religion. And he sent me a thing from Jehovah'sWitness.org that says that actually states that. But if you go, well, my mother was one thing. If you're not a Jehovah's Witness and you're not in the organization, you're going to die. And he made that perfectly clear to me and anybody else who would listen. So that was one example that I had where they say one thing at the Jehovah'sWitness.org and the other thing when you go to the meetings.
Yeah, they like to sugarcoat everything on top just to get you in. But then once you get in, then you start gradually learning the real them. You know, they start showing their true colors.
Correct. And I always was concerned how people could fall. I was never comfortable. I was a witness for 30 years, and I was never comfortable passing the emblems in front of me without partaking. And I never understood, because the Bible is so clear that this 144,000 is Jewish. It comes from the 12 tribes of the Jewish people. Okay,
and not only that, those people weren't even married.
Right. Correct.
So how is it that what's his face, the one that got booted, he was married?
You talking about Tony Morris?
Tony Morris, yeah, he was married. Yeah, and he was supposed to be anointed.
Right. And then the other thing is that when Jesus said that I have other sheep that are not of this fold, he was clearly talking about the Gentiles, the Jews and the Gentiles, because there was witnesses back then.
Yeah. No, there was no organization back then. You can't find it in the Bible. They even claim that Noah was the organization. Can you believe that?
I can know.
Yeah, they even go back that far and claim that Noah was like the organization.
Yeah. And
they try to put themselves in the Bible.
Yes. And I go to I've been taught by some of the leading rabbis here in Ohio. And one thing I notice when I go to the classes, because I go in with my blue eyes and at that time blonde hair. And if you're not blood Jewish, I mean, the Jewish people treated me kindly, and they did so many things for me. So I can't say anything against them. But I knew when I walked in that I wasn't in the bloodline. And that was extremely important to them. And so we would never, as Gentiles, we would never be accepted as Jewish people. That's why God has blinded the eyes, as it says in Romans. He's put a cover over the eyes so the Gentiles could come into the fold. And it's once you understand the Bible, you really see the clear picture of the 144,000.
Yeah, but somehow the Jehovah's Witnesses had said that they were the 144,000. And then over the years, things changed. First it was the 144,000. Then it was all the anointed were the faithful and discreet slave. Well, first it was Russell. Then it was all the anointed, and they kept changing, and now it's just the governing body that's the faithful and discreet slave.
Yeah. And what made you write this book? What was the process? What made you start to write?
What got me into writing it was my short experience with them, but also the research that I had done, all the things I've heard on Jehovah's Witnesses. It just made me angry that this group would do these kinds of things to people that they do. And it's just cruel. I mean, it's utter cruelty. I mean, it's manipulation, it's control, it's everything you can think of that would belong to Satan, pretty much. I mean, it's satanic. I mean, the whole thing is satanic. It's not Christian. They claim to be Christian, but even the Bible says that the devil can appear as an angel of light. So it makes sense, that they're appearing as this lit up organization, so to speak, that has the truth supposedly. But the problem with their truth is it always changes. It never stays the same.
Right. Yeah, that's what I used to tell my mother all the time. I said, Mom, the truth doesn't ever change. It stays the same. And we have been changing our philosophy and our thoughts on things all the way through. And, but of course, it takes time. Even me, when I decided to get out of the organization and realized it wasn't the truth, it still took me almost 6 years to pull away. I couldn't believe it.
It does. And the longer now I was in for very short. So the time that I was in, I wasn't really indoctrinated. So I didn't have any issues leaving it. But for those who have been in really long periods of time, when they get out, they're free, but yet they're still not really free because they have all that programming still in there.
Exactly. Yes.
It still follows them.
And that's why I feel like what Rick is doing, shows like this, is very important to the people. And you could sometimes you can almost hear the anger in people's voices as they talk about this. I think they have a guy on named Dan, and I could sit and hear him talk, and I hear the language coming out of his mouth, and I just feel that anger that he still has. It still has a hold on him, and he can't come to the love of Jesus Christ yet. I pray for him every day.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people that lead this is what happens to a lot of people who lead the witnesses is they become atheists because they're so confused and they don't know where to go. It's like, okay, I got Armageddon in my head. If I do this, I'll get a fireball, Armageddon, and yada yada yada, and then they give up on God altogether because they're so confused. And that's sad when they do. When they give up on God altogether.
It happened to me, Don. It happened to me. For 10 years, I always say I went through 10 years of hell. I got pulled away from God, didn't want nothing to do with it, didn't want to hear his name, nothing. And, but, like I always say, my final chapter wasn't written yet, and God had a plan for me, and he came to rescue me, so I'm always thankful for that.
And that's good that you've been rescued by God and that he's helping you, and now you can learn the real truth without Watchtower magazines and stuff. And you don't need those magazines. Those magazines they're trash. They're just, all that is their interpretation of the Bible. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now we have the love of Jesus Christ and we go on.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, I appreciate talking to you. Thanks. Thanks for doing
here.
the book work and everything.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, Rick, I'm still here. Hello?
Hey, my brother. This is my name is Eric. Every 6 hours, the phone drops, and he has to redo it and everything. So it's just the people on the phone on, I think, or there's no YouTube or it's something like that. I think he's disconnected from the server or something like that, just to say.
Uh-oh.
I'm Eric again, and I'd like to comment on your show later if I could. Just something I wanted to talk about the name of your show or title of it.
The book, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll let you go for now. I got to take care of something, but I guess you hang in there and it'll be back on.
Okay.
Well, hey, if you want, I could talk to you just to keep the show going.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. But I did hear. I guess that was you were still on the line there. So.
Yeah, I just had to take care of something for a second, but the title of your show or the theme of it about North Korea kind of made me laugh because my wife and I both feel that way. We would say to each other, and I don't know what's been covered because I've been in and out listening. But anyways, like the no policy of having mullets is in Korea, and that's the same as Jehovah's Witnesses. The
name of the book that I wrote is it's entitled a North Korean Regime in the United States, and the title, it sounds like a political title, but it's not really. But it's referring to the Jehovah's Witnesses being like a North Korean regime, and that they were founded here in the United States. And it's kind of interesting that they were, founded here in this country. Oh,
yeah, I'm
are you there? All right, hold on a second. I got a beep coming in. Hold on, let's see who this is.
Well, I'll keep going for everybody. My wife and I just saw so many similarities of things that you can and can't have, and they control your information. It feels like a cult. And I wonder at times if that media center that they have, if that's going to be like, all right, we're going to have your news and everything you need and from jw.org, and you just listen to us. And that way they just completely program everybody's mind. I mean, I don't know what else it would be for, but it seems like they're going that route. I call that
their version of Hollywood, is what I call
it. Right, because they're stars, I guess.
Yeah, because they're going to have, I guess they're going to do dramas and stuff up there and stuff, and, movies or whatever. But yeah, and it's weird because, they're saying that.
Oh, and no tight pants either. No tight pants either. That's the other similarity.
No tight pants, yeah.
Kim Jong-un don't want no tight pants in his cult.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm glad I didn't go any further with the religion than what I did. I joined it. I went studying. I stayed with them just out of curiosity. I was a Christian already, but I wanted to see what they were like because I didn't know what the Jehovah's Witnesses were like, and boy, I learned something quick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're not Christian. They definitely they claim to be, but there's a difference between claiming and actually being.
Say that again.
I said they claim to be Christian, but there's a big difference between claiming and actually being.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, my man.
Huh? What happened to Rick?
Let me. Thank you so much. Let me see if I can get him. Sometimes he falls asleep. Hey, Rick.
I'm right here.
Sorry, Rick.
Well, what happens is, I've got people call me during the program and trying to make sure programs are coming up in the future. So I'm still here, but trying to take care of business. But I'm still here. So why don't we do this? Let's bring more callers in and see what they want to speak about. Listen, we have Don Brown. He's written a book.
Let's talk to people.
So come on. Let's say hello to Don. What do you want to ask Don? I mean, he knows what he's talking about. I mean, the book is fantastic. at least the portions that I've read. So why don't we come on, say hello to Don, let him know that you really appreciate what he's doing. I mean, this man's got a lot of knowledge. I'm learning things from Don. He's an opposer, never has been an apostate, but he's an opposer. So come on, hit *6. Say hello to Don. Why don't you do it? Do it right now. Well, Don, go on and tell us about this idea of Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, we do have a call. Okay, go ahead. We've got 978. Go ahead. You're on with us.
Hi. I wanted to thank him for his book, and I can't wait to finish it. From what I've heard. Why do you think the Watchtower is on its way out? I mean, they're still doing their preaching campaign, and they haven't really changed any of their doctrine. Why do you think they're going to go? They're going to be done with very soon.
The reason why, well, I don't know if they'll be totally done with, but a lot of people are leaving the religion because they're finding out the real truth about the religions, and because of the fact that their past is online and they will always be there. Once people find that stuff out, that religion is just going to collapse. I mean, it may not totally go away. It may resort to just being an online group, but as far as, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to really dissolve, but it will eventually happen at some point because, things like that don't last forever. But it will eventually happen at some point because things like that don't last forever. But
I'm kind of hearing a voice in the background. Do you think that because maybe they're doing this program thing in New York, it's kind of like a television program in a way? Do you think that eventually that'll come to pass, or that you don't think that they'll be building it anytime soon? It's just kind of a way to get money.
Well, they've always been getting money from all kinds of sources. And the funny thing is they get money from sources that if you were to join those sources yourself, you would be disfellowshipped. They get money from like Lockheed Martin, which is the company that makes war equipment, and they get money from Boeing, which makes aircraft and stuff. So they get donations and stuff from all kinds of places, and while they're doing that, they're telling the witnesses that the whole world is of Satan. So while everything is of the devil to everybody else, to the upper echelons of that group, they've got their hands deep in Satan's pockets, getting all kinds of money.
Wow. Well, I wish you could finish your book soon because it really sounds very good.
It is finished. I have it finished, and I will send Rick a link to where he'll put it up to where people can go and get it.
Well, I'll be one of them. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. We got, we've got 213. I know you've been trying to get in 213. So now is your time to speak up. 213, you're on with us. Go ahead, speak up.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
I'm cranking away at it. Things are good. Thank you.
Okay, Rick, I have a question. Maybe, I don't know if your guest can answer it, but since Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe in hellfire torment, do most Christians believe that when you die, you're going to burn in hell? Or that's what's really bothering me.
The Bible does teach that there is the lake of fire. And the Bible even teaches that hell will be thrown in the lake of fire. The Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in hell. They believe in annihilation. So that means when you die, you're dead for eternity. You're not, you're just dead. That all came from the very beginning, from Charles Taze Russell, who started the organization. He didn't believe in hell either. So that's, they don't believe in that. They believe in heaven, of course, but they don't believe that there's a hell. So the way they teach, they say that your death pays for your sin. Now, where they get that from is because the Bible does say the wages of sin is death. But what that really says is that because you sin, you're going to die. It doesn't mean that that's going to pay for your sin. It just means that because you sin, because we're sinners, we naturally will die. It's just a result of sin. It's part of the sin nature that we have. But they believe that when you die, you pay for your sin. And what's interesting is that if you get resurrected, your sins are paid for when you get resurrected because you died. So their whole paradise earth thing is really, really messed up. It's hard to believe that they even teach such a thing, because the way they teach it, it's just so bizarre, the way they believe how it works. Because what they say too is that when you're resurrected, that instead of being perfect instantly, you gradually will reach perfection. So can you imagine waking up from the dead? You still have the disease and illness that you died with, and you're just going to gradually get into perfection. And only if you study Jehovah's Witness material, and if you follow Jehovah's guidelines and whatever, that you'll gradually reach perfection. And so while you're trying to reach perfection, the earth is still in a shambles. And even the Watchtower teaches that there will be people assigned to bury all the dead bodies, and that's all they'll do. So how is that a paradise? If they're going to bury 8 billion people, that's going to take a long, long time to do. But yeah, the death thing and the hell thing, they don't believe in hell. But yeah, most all Christian faiths do believe in hell and the lake of fire, because the Bible teaches it.
So most Christians believe that anybody that is not a Christian, even like a teenager, a 13-year-old girl, she's going to burn in hell, and that just doesn't make sense to me.
If they're not saved, then yes, they will not go to heaven. They will not be with Christ. The key here is salvation, and salvation only comes through Jesus himself, not through an organization. The Watchtower claims that they are the ones that can offer salvation. Matter of fact, they even state that the only way to get salvation is to associate with their organization and to recognize the organization as part of God, as part of Jehovah. So their version of salvation is really messed up, because the only way you get salvation is through Christ, because Jesus said, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and nobody comes to the Father but through me. So what he's saying there is that he is the truth. He didn't say a religion's the truth. He said he was. So salvation only comes through Jesus personally, himself. You get that through him.
Okay, but I understand that, but I'm saying most Christians do not believe that people that don't accept Christ will not be, they will just burn in hell. I mean, so all the Jewish children today, they don't even have a chance if they don't accept Jesus Christ. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, but then again, we don't know how God, it depends on the person's heart, what's going on in their heart with them and God. It's kind of like the thief on the cross, his last few minutes or whatever while he was on the cross next to Jesus, he got saved right there. Jesus said that, he said, this day you'll be with me in paradise. Now you got to remember, that person lived a criminal life. He probably never accepted Christ before, and he just lived his life all the way up until the time he was going to die, and then he accepted Christ at that point. So we don't really know who's going to be in heaven and who's going to be in hell. But if you don't accept Christ as your Savior, if you refuse salvation, then yeah, you would end up in hell. You would, because you refused the salvation gift of salvation from Christ. You refused it.
What we're going to do here listen, I just want to let the callers know that on Sunday we discuss theological issues. And, sometimes on Saturday night we have to get into a little bit of it. But if people really have Bible questions, they have concerns on theology taught in the Bible and Watchtower versus Christianity, that's what Sunday's for. So we encourage all those people listening in tonight, if you have theological questions, if you're concerned about certain scriptures, well, Sunday is the time to come in. We have a wonderful program starting at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So that's the time to come in and ask these questions. So I just want to make that clear. So thank you, Don, for understanding that. And also our caller coming in from 213. Sunday's the day to discuss theology. Well, listen, if you got a question for Don, he is on here with us tonight. He's writing a book. It's all about Jehovah's Witnesses and how they are very much like, in fact, the book is already written. And if you go to JW World News later on tonight, I'll have all the information, jwworldnews@gmail.com. We'll have the link to his book, and you'll be able to read it, and you'll know it's very, very interesting. If you'd like to say hello to Don, come on right now. Hit *6 on your telephone pad. We'll bring you on. Well, Don, you're very popular. People, they like what you're talking about here tonight. I think your book is going to be a big success. So, there's a few things in that book that really got me really aggravated about what the witnesses do. And one of them was, we were talking earlier about people being evicted and actually losing their jobs because they've been disfellowshipped. And I can understand that entirely, because I know two people in this category. I know a man that wanted to get out of the Watchtower, and he got very much involved with us here at the Six Screens. And what he did is he couldn't get too involved because he was renting a house from a Jehovah's Witness landlord. And if he got too involved and they found out, he would have been evicted. And then also I had another person that had a job while they were trying to get him out of a job position he had, because he was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Then he left, and he was working for me at the time. And when he was disfellowshipped, his boss actually called me and said that, you really shouldn't have this man working for you because he's disfellowshipped. He was trying to get him fired. I wouldn't do it. I'm saying no. I like the man. The man's doing a good job. I'm not doing it. But I was being pressured by an elder in his kingdom hall to fire him because he left the Watchtower and was disfellowshipped. It's disgusting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It is disgusting. It's evil. It's totally evil.
So,
I mean, how do you, at the same time that they're doing that, they claim, oh, we follow Jesus. Oh, we're like the first century church. No, they're not.
Yeah, and this man was 74 years old. He didn't have any work, and this is a way that he could support his wife and him and pay his rent. But yet this elder, how heinous, how evil. The elder called me after he was disfellowshipped and said, Rick, you should fire that man, or he shouldn't be working for you. That is disgusting.
What happens when people go to Bethel? If they don't need them anymore, they just let them. They turn them loose. They get turned loose with no pension, no savings, no nothing.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of people calling in here tonight and talking about, so let us know, give us a little synopsis, Dawn, on where we're going with this. What would you ask witnesses to do after reading your book? How would you encourage them?
I would just encourage people, if they're witnesses reading the book, I'd encourage them to really take a big, long, serious look at what they're involved with. Because even the book doesn't even cover nowhere near half what the upper echelons are doing in that religion. I mean, they're doing some things back there that even I probably don't know of. And it's just a heinous, evil organization that pretends to be Christian, that poses, that looks like a Christian organization. They act like one in some ways, but But they only do that on the outside. But of course, on the inside, like Jesus said, it's full of dead men's bones. But they really need to have a strong look at what they're getting involved in or what they're already involved in. And maybe the book will help get them out, hopefully. That's what I hope that it will do, that if a witness reads that book, that it will help them to see how evil that group really is.
Well, it certainly is evil. Listen, we got a few minutes left here. We're going to have another program coming on here shortly. But listen, if you have any questions for Don tonight, why don't you hit *6? Come on, let Don know. Ask him some questions. This man does his research. He knows all about the Watchtower. We're glad to have him on with us. I'll go ahead. 540. You're on with us tonight. Go ahead.
I just want to let you know what happened to me in 2013 was really absolutely bad. Everything was going to happen to me. Are you guys listening?
We're listening to
what's that?
Yeah. Go ahead. We're gonna try to get you come nice to your phone and go nice and slow because I do see you have an accent. We want to hear every word you say. Go ahead.
Okay. The thing what happened that when I became witnesses, I was like in the 90s, so I really was completely believing in them. I gave my whole life. I came there with my 3 kids when they were little. My youngest one was just a baby, a few months old. But when I got baptized, my husband disappeared from my life. And I never knew because they kept me busy. Well, he was committed, I would say, he was raising 2 families at the same time, and the elders, they knew, and they covered things up for decades. So when this girl became a witness with all her family, like with the children, she was praying, of course, for my husband, and they disfellowshipped me without telling me why. So
wow.
He was committing a big, huge sin, but they never disfellowshipped him. They didn't disfellowship her. They disfellowshipped me without giving me any reasons why. So for 10 years, I was waiting. Why they do that to me? I was waiting for an answer, still waiting for an answer. Nothing happened in 10 years because I am disfellowshipped. I can't. Nobody talks to me in my house. Nobody talks anywhere. This is joking. I was completely pioneering, doing everything they asked for it. I never thought about them. 2 months ago, I just started looking for information, and I came with you, Rick. I hear the Royal Commission. I hear all the cases with Barbara talk about it, and I say, shoot, they never going to come up with anything. So forget about it, keep living your life. And I just want to share this. It's like 30 years believing in them. So it's too much to talk about it. But I will do a little, but I got this fellowship May 5th, 2013, and nobody has been telling me that when I met this girl in the Kingdom Hall, she was praying with my husband's baby inside. Nobody told me that, okay? And they kicked me out. They are evil people. It's only one that went to say tonight.
They are very evil.
Yeah, yes, they are. Can you imagine that girl when she saw me with my husband, with my kids? She was praying for my husband. Can you imagine how she was feeling with her kids? It's unbelievable how evil they can be.
Yeah.
And I've been telling my husband, please tell me what happened. I forgive you. What's going on? Not talk. I went to the girl's house and said, please tell me. I forgive you because it's like, I believe in God. I believe in the Bible. I forgive you. And she called the cops on me.
Wow.
So in 10 years, I haven't heard anything about what had happened.
Yeah, and they probably won't ever tell you.
This girl is like 11 years now, and I don't know her. I haven't seen her. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
It's crazy. This religion, this really destroyed my life completely. And I don't know. I don't know what they want from me. I don't know why they let me go. I don't know nothing what's going on. But sadly, this lady, my another husband's wife, or whatever house called, do you know she came with a young son that's the same age as my daughter, and he committed suicide. So, can you imagine seeing all these things and I suppose through religion, seeing somebody that for him was his daddy with another family? So these people are crazy.
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah,
only
they'll
thing-
do anything.
Yeah, well, I hope that all the witnesses who can hear that go and get checked up, because if they haven't committed adultery, the wife, they are never going to know nothing about it. So it's crazy. This religion is completely crazy. Yeah, have a good night and thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, thank you for coming on, sister. Always good to hear from new ones calling in to the 6 screens. My goodness, we got Donald on with us. I'll tell you what, it's really amazing, Donald. You're getting a lot of people wanting to talk to you and come in. So can you hang in with us for a few more minutes?
Oh, definitely.
All right, good. Well, let me just, I just want to make an announcement here. Apostasy, babe, Linda James. If you can come on here very shortly within the next 10, 15 minutes, that'd be great if you could do that. So if you're listening in, Apostasy Babe's program, Healing After the Watchtower, if you can come in, Linda, in the next 15 minutes or so, that'll be wonderful if you could do that. So let's see what you can do. Where people are asking, we want to hear from Linda. We want to hear her. We haven't heard her for a couple of weeks. So if you can come in the next 15 minutes, that would be wonderful. Well, we have Donald Brown. Have you been listening into this program? Donald really has a lot of knowledge on the Watchtower. He knows where the bones are buried, and he's on with us here tonight. And he's written a book all about Jehovah's Witnesses and how he's liking it to the North Korean regime. Linda, I think that's you. Go ahead, Linda.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm feeling good tonight, but I'm not ready to start right this as the beginning of the hour. So I'm thinking I'm going to need like 20 minutes or so.
Oh yeah, we'll tell you. Why don't you plan on coming on in 20 minutes? Okay.
Okay then.
All right.
Thank you.
Looking forward to, and Linda will be on in 20 minutes. Okay. It looks like we get 978. It looks like Dick Borgie. Do you want to say something, Dick? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to fill in to you get your situation, straightened. I would just like to say a couple of weeks ago on 6 Screens, we were talking about the legal what's legal as far as handguns go, and the Jehovah's Witnesses would have you believe that if you go door to door, angels are going to protect you. They would also have you believe that that the angels are protecting you, and that the Supreme Court gives Jehovah's Witnesses the right to preach. Well, they do have the right to preach, but they don't have, the Supreme Court does not give anybody the right to go onto somebody's property, or like in New England where I live, or did live, they have storm doors in porches. You go onto a porch, you're in somebody's house. And, there are some people that are trigger happy. I think I told a story a couple of weeks ago about a person that was an air conditioning specialist, and the dispatcher gave him the wrong address. So he went to somebody's house with the toolbox, but the woman that was in there didn't see the toolbox. It was hidden by her counter, I guess. And he walked in and knocked on the door, but maybe she had earphones on or something. But she turned around, she was startled. In Texas, they wear holsters, guns in them. I mean, it's quite commonplace in Texas. Well, she saw a strange man in her kitchen. She drew a gun and shot him. He was the father of 3 children, and it was a traumatic thing. But that was legal. I mean, she didn't get in any kind of legal trouble because the guy was in her house that he shouldn't have been, and he shot him.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
if anybody wants to comment, star six. Yeah, a little feedback, Rick.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll get Dick off here. We got more people coming in. We got a lot of people coming in right now. So let's mute them right now.
Okay.
All right. So anyways, well, that's an interesting comment, Dick. Thank you for bringing that up. Did you want to comment on that at all, Donald?
Well, I mean, I live in Texas, and I actually live in Beaumont, Texas, which is near Houston. And so we're on the Gulf. I'm on the Gulf Coast, but yeah, Texas is pretty peculiar about stuff like that. I mean, I think we can carry guns here. We can have them in our houses and so forth. People, I've heard of people shooting people from, them going into their houses, stuff like that. But I don't know what to think about that. It just depends on what the situation is. I mean, yeah, it would be scary to have someone just pop in your house without you knowing it. And that would startle you. You would think, well, what are you doing in here? But I wouldn't if it were me, I wouldn't necessarily shoot them right away because, I mean, somebody, people do make mistakes. They get to a wrong address. And if you just ask them, well, what happened? What are you here for? And if they just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm at the wrong address, that's okay. But yeah, the lady that shot the guy, I guess she was really caught off guard, with that.
Well, okay, we'll take that as an answer. Okay, I just want to make one announcement here as well. People on the Six Screens video suite, they're asking, where's Larry? Normally, Larry would be on coming up next, but Larry has some other assignments he has to take care of tonight, so he cannot come on the program tonight. So Larry John Wayne will not be on the program tonight, but Linda James, your favorite apostate, she'll be on very, very shortly. We have, it looks like we have 203. It looks like a good friend, Carrie. Carrie, you on with us? Go ahead.
Yes, I am. I just wanted to make a quick comment about the door-to-door work here in Connecticut. They have to have permits in order to go out to your homes. Now, I don't know if that's changed. That's something that I'm going to find out about. But yeah, for a long time, and I'm sure it's up at your end also. You have to get a permit. Not each group, but I guess they have to. The elders have to check in with the city hall and get their permit to send their people out.
I don't know about here in Texas if they have to do that. I'm not aware of such a permit.
Yeah. Well, we do here. But, of course, it's probably money anyways. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's what all these little cities and towns are like anyways. We got to get the money any way we can.
Oh, yeah.
But I that's just my quick comment. And thank you for coming on.
I guess that's what the cop hidden behind the bushes for the speed office for.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I appreciate a non-witness writing a book with that much research. You're not so involved that you can separate things and think clearly. Yeah. And I think that's wonderful. Anybody who writes a book about them, exposing them, is great. So I appreciate that.
I was in it for a very short period of time, and I wasn't indoctrinated enough to get brainwashed, really. But I was in it just long enough.
Yeah.
I was in it just long enough to get a taste of the control machinery. So once that machinery started kicking in, I knew this thing too swift here. So I got out.
Right.
I didn't get out immediately, but I got out at some point. I did get out. I just quit going to the meetings and stuff like that. And
right. The problem is I've been out a very long time, but things were way back different in the late 50s and 60s, even the 70s. With the organization and the way things are going now. I mean, I wouldn't even recognize what's going on in those. I haven't been in a Kingdom Hall for many, many years. So, you know, what everybody talks about now, I kind of wonder, you know, I mean, it surprises me. I mean, some things haven't changed. But when I came in, I was very young, but I was a convert. But the people were really, really nice. And I didn't see a problem. Of course, I was young. I had nobody in my family that was witnesses or were studying. It was just me. And but I'm sure things are different today. And I try to listen very carefully to what everybody's saying.
Well, if you ever go to a Kingdom Hall now, well, of course, I'm sure it was like this back then.
Ew! I don't think. You know what? Just passing by one. Ooh.
I mean, if you did go into one, there's a good way to judge. There's a good way to judge the genuineness of the niceness. You know how that is?
How?
While they're love bombing you because you're new and you just came into the Kingdom Hall. Have a look at the room on the other side of the Kingdom Hall with the window in it, and see the people sitting in that room. Those that are in that room are the disfellowshipped ones. Those people aren't being nice to.
Oh yeah.
So there's the
there's a separate room.
Yeah, some Kingdom Halls they sit in a separate room. And
really?
Window. Yeah, some of them have that. I don't know if they all have that.
Wow.
I thought that was just the overflow. I didn't know that was the disc people. Wow.
Yes, that was some of them. I think in some Kingdom Halls that's where they sit, is in there.
Wow.
It depends.
So they used to sit at the back of the Kingdom Hall, you know, way in the back. But there's always somebody sitting next to them. But
yeah, but even if you look at the very back and you see that, it makes you wonder. It should make you wonder. Wait a minute, these people are nice to me. Why isn't anybody talking to those people over there? You know, like Then you know. Wait a minute, this niceness thing is just a facade.
Well, usually the way it went is, it would be the DF people, last one in to the meeting and the first one to get the heck out of there. But, you know, I never paid attention to that because I was pretty, I don't know, young and I wasn't in the know of anything.
Yeah, and it's so sad to see that because here they claim to be loving. Here they claim to be a loving organization. Oh, we're so loving. And yet, like you just said, they come late and they leave fast, you know.
Right.
And that's because they're not forgiven. They never will be forgiven. There's no forgiveness in that religion.
No, there isn't.
Even if you're reinstated, they don't, from what I've heard, they don't clap and stuff when you're reinstated.
They don't really. I haven't. No.
And you know what's worse? And you know what's worse than disfellowshipping? There's actually a practice that's kind of worse than disfellowshipping. It's when you're marked, because when you're marked, there's no way. There's no way of unmarking you.
You know, you're right. You're right.
So you're shunned even when you're marked. You're not. Well, you're not totally shunned, but you are kind of, you know.
Well, it's pretty obvious. Yeah, because all those people that used to raise their hand and, you know, answer questions and stuff like that, they were prohibited from that. So I guess, you know, it was sort of noticeable.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. The whole thing is. But I just wanted to tell you I appreciate your efforts. I really do.
Oh, thanks.
So
I did. I worked over a year on that book.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure you did.
Off and on, because I've been involved in other projects, and I work on it for a while, then go on to something else, go back to it again, and that because I do write ebooks. I don't just write stuff on witnesses. I'm an ebook writer, and I write books. I write books on internet marketing and stuff like that, and I just love to write. I'm just
that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you. That's for sure.
Well, you're doing a real good job, and I thank Carrie for saying that. We do appreciate you, Don, because it's very interesting that you are a prolific writer, and I was impressed with what you sent me. So we do have 540. I know that's Pixie.
That's me.
Yeah, Pixie, I know it's you. What would you like to say?
I just wanted to congratulate him on the book. That a year and a half, that's pretty quick. And also he mentioned he had some limited vision, and to do a book in a year and a half with some limited vision, that's amazing. And
of course, on my computer speaks to me. I use a screen reader on my computer because I can't see to read the screen. So, I can't see well enough to read the screen. That is, so my computer.
Do you have Dragon, or what software do you use?
No, my computer talks to me.
Okay.
I can have the computer read the text to me. It does everything. I can read everything on the internet, read what I type, like everything.
Fantastic. Well, I know that the witnesses have become more superstitious than ever. And if a person has a neurological condition like epilepsy or migraine headaches, or they have limited vision or something, it was as if the Watchtower and the Kingdom Hall expected everyone to be 23 years old, in perfect shape, and full of testosterone, and not have any limitations at all. So,
wow.
That was my take. I mean, they were telling people with epilepsy they were demon possessed.
I know. Oh, yeah. And if you claim to be anointed, you're mentally diseased and stuff.
Yeah.
But yet the governing body, they're anointed. So why aren't they mentally diseased?
Right. What I wanted to ask you, I talked to the Attorney General's office of my state. I had an interview with a lady last week, and I mentioned to her how some of the sisters were trying to extort property and money from some of the senior members. And it was a meeting about elder fraud and things. If you could send a copy of your book to, let's say, your senator from Texas or someone like that, that would be really a great thing, because I think some of the higher up people need to know. At one time I was very proud to be a witness, and the things they did in the Supreme Court in precedent cases for freedom of religion, they're tarnished now, as we know. And the higher-ups need to know about the blood doctrine, the abuses, the shunning practices, the extorting of money. So if you could just send a copy of your book to whoever your representative is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're aware of the blood doctrine, but see, the blood doctrine, they can't change that. It would be impossible for them to do so, because...
The shunning,
yeah, they can fix that one.
So if they could see your book, maybe it would be good. And
it would be. It would be. But yeah, if they were to change the blood doctrine, can you imagine how many lawsuits that the Watchtower, they would be broken one day. They would be broke.
Oh yeah. But it's worse than when you were there.
I was there back in 91, 92, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
I'm fourth generation. I left, and then I came back to care for my parents, and my mother said, this doesn't seem like the same thing at all.
Have you ever thought about this, though? Those that come back, those that are in the religion, I wonder how many of those actually really truly believe what they teach, or do they just go through the motions just to stay in?
I think there's a lot of PMOs because of their family. And I was out for decades, but I came back to do elder care. And again, my mother, she said that when she saw the way the teachings were, she says, this isn't the religion I remember at all.
You know what? You should take care of the elders.
Oh, I did.
No, the elders. The elders of the Kingdom Hall.
Oh.
Well, you said elder care. So I thought, okay, I can make a little joke out of that one.
That's good.
I know what
Yeah.
you meant, though. I know what you meant. Old people. Yeah, I know what you
Well,
meant.
let your representative know, because it isn't the same teachings. It's not the same dynamic. It's crueler than it. Well, I don't know if it's crueler than it was. There's more people getting hurt. It's just as cruel as it was, but there's more people getting hurt. There's more people leaving. And again, these kangaroo courts with freedom of religion, they can't get around it. So the senators and Congress people, and maybe even the Supreme Court justices, people need to know this isn't Grandpa's Kingdom Hall.
Nope. It's something else. Yeah. Something more tyrannical, I guess.
Tyrannical is a good word. Well, again, congratulations, and I hope we'll chat again soon.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Dan, what do you think about that? What do you think of all these people calling in and wanting to talk to you, Dan? So how do you feel about this program?
Good.
Yeah, no, it's good because, you're touching a nerve here tonight. People are in total agreement with you, and they're impressed with you because, even though you weren't a witness for that long, you have been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. And obviously, you have so much to say about it. It's just amazing to me that you have this much information. So I just want to mention to people, if you're trying to get a hold of Dan, you want to get the book, write me a
Donald, you call me Dan. It's Donald.
I'm sorry, Dan. It's Donald. I'm sorry very much. We have a bunch of Dans coming through here. I'm looking at the screen.
That's okay.
So yeah, just get a little confused there. But if you're trying to get a hold of Donald and you'd like to get that book, write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com, and I'll have all the information. I'll send it to you, and you can get the book, and you can see what you think about it. I think it's amazing. So anyways, let's keep you on here for a few more minutes, Donald, if we can. We've got a Pasta Babes program coming up, Healing After the Watchtower. She's just getting ready. But, I want to really tell you that I appreciate you coming on tonight and being with us. It's just a great thing to have a person coming on. What impresses me the most, and I told you earlier, even though you weren't associated too much with the witnesses, a short while, you still have this real fervor, this commitment, this passion to be able to expose these bums. So I thank you for that. And I'm looking at YouTube. We get a lot of people commenting on YouTube as well. And I think that's amazing. And I believe that you really made a real big impact here tonight. So what would you like to say, Donald? What would you like to say to the witnesses that are listening in tonight, to some active witnesses listening in as well? What's your message? What would you say to the Jehovah's Witnesses listening in here tonight?
Well, basically what I'd like to say is really have a deep, deep look at what you're involved with. Because the governing body is always telling you should trust them. Now, of course, the governing body are only human beings. So why are you supposed to trust them, but you can't trust anybody else? It's like, how is it? And they're not getting anything from Jesus. Jesus is not handing them special information from up top. Jesus isn't coming down and participating in their meetings. They make their decisions by votes. They vote on policies. They vote. It's business meetings. That's what they do. That's how they make their changes in the Watchtower. They vote on stuff like that. So it's all voted on. It's not Jesus at all. It's not, and from what Fred Francis said in his book, Christ as a Conscience, he said the Bible was rarely even used. So if they don't even use the very word of God that they claim they trust in, that should tell you something, because if they claim to be such good Christians and all this, why aren't they using the Bible alone? The reason why they don't use the Bible alone is because they put their trust in their magazines and their other books. Their other books are additions to the Bible. The Watchtower is just an addition to the Bible. That's why in their publications, I think it was back in 1981 or 83, I can't remember which. I'd have to go back in the book and look. But they stated that you can't read the Bible alone, that you need their publications to understand the Bible. Well, the Bible can be understood by anybody. You don't need Watchtower magazines to understand the Bible. You don't need the governing body to understand the Bible. You can read the Bible for yourself. You have a brain, use it. God gave you a good brain, use it. Do research. Don't let Watchtower intimidate you. Go and do your research. Discover whether this thing is true or not. And if you still believe it's the truth, then, I can't keep you from being in it. But really, folks, you need to have a serious look into this thing, because this organization's deadly. I mean, people have died. And if you are a witness, look at how many people have died just from not receiving blood. Yeah, they claim that the blood doctrine has to do with life and so forth. But the problem is, there's nowhere in the Bible that says you can't have a blood transfusion. If you can have blood fractions, why can't you take the whole thing? You can have all the parts of the sandwich, but you can't have the sandwich, if you know what I mean. So you need to really do your research and have a hard look at this, because what they're telling you is not out of the Bible. I mean, it's clearly, they make it up as they go. They make up their own rules. They're kind of like the scribes and Pharisees of Jesus' day. They have their own rules and traditions, and that's all they want to follow. They want you to follow that instead of the Bible.
Well, you're absolutely right. Dawn, I have to tell you, really, you made a real impression on a lot of people calling in tonight. It's amazing to me that you have this real passion to expose the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I thank you for that. So thank you, Dawn, for coming on and being with us tonight. And now you're coming on tomorrow. You're going to be on the 6 Screens program tomorrow at 2:00. So those listening in tonight, if you want to hear more from Don, we're going to hear how he became a Christian, and that'll be on tomorrow's program, Sunday, 6 Screens at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We're looking forward to you coming on, Don. I want to hear the story.
Yep. And that'll be 1 p.m. my time Central.
1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Well, we want to thank you, Don. Keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up or out, and keep. Do we have one more caller want to come in? Go ahead. You're on with us. Go ahead. One more caller before we cut you off, Don. Go ahead.
Hi. I just wanted to thank Don because, in the United States, we have what's called the Bill of Rights. And people want to come from all over the world and live in the United States because of that Bill of Rights. But we here, living here in the United States, will so easily give up all our Bill of Rights and think that people from all over the world want to come and live here because of, we give that up to Jehovah's Witnesses. So we don't need our Bill of Rights, we just need Jehovah's Witnesses. So thank you for pointing that out in your book. It's something that I never really thought of before.
Yeah, it's a tragic thing because, the witnesses were founded here in this country. And you would think that, well, if they were founded in the United States, that they would at least adhere to some of the country's laws and guidelines and so forth. But they don't, because they operate like their own little country, because basically that's what they are. They kind of are a separate little nation of their own. They have their own laws, their own stuff, but they take you away from everything that you hold true or hold value to. It's like if you have hobbies, they'll tell you, well, don't participate in your hobby. Wait till the new system, and then you can do that later, because they want you to do their dirty work. They want you to work for them for free, go door to door, and try to bring people into the organization. And then you have to turn in your timesheet to show them how many houses you went to and all this garbage. That's not even in the Bible. Jesus never said, turn in your timesheets, so we all know how many people are coming in and who are not coming in. I mean, it's crazy. It's a business. It's an evil empire. That's a business, is what it is. It's an evil empire.
Well,
thank you for your viewpoint.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Susan, and thank you, Don, for coming on here tonight.
You're welcome.
Now, we're going to hear from you tomorrow at 2 p.m., so don't forget that. That's 1 p.m. your time, Don. So looking forward to you coming on the program. We want to hear more from Don. I think you get a home here at the 6 Screens. People really love you, Don.
I think so, yeah.
I really, they really do. I'm going to keep you in the I'm going to keep you in the bullpen. I mean, you might be having a program here on the Six Screens yourself here very shortly. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
All righty. Well, we're going to be in touch with you. Thank you very much, Don. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I really mean it. It adds a lot. I mean, you're not a crazy man. You done your research. You really know a lot about what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So thank you for doing the research. We're going to be hearing more from you. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Don.
Well, basically, I guess if you had to relate me to the Wizard of Oz, I'm Toto. I just went behind the curtain. So even though they say never mind the man behind the curtain, I've already paid attention to the man behind the curtain.
Well, I'm really amazed with the amount of information you have, Don. Really, more than even the average witness. You did your homework. Good man. Keep waving that flag. I'll be in touch with you.
Yep.
We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much, Don, for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, there you go. What do you think of that? I mean, come on. I mean, this man knows what he's talking about. Jeez, he's just a witness for a short period of time. But boy, this guy's nailed it. He knows what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, we're still on 6 Screens of the Watchtower conference call. We do have Linda James, your favorite apostate. She's coming up here next. It looks like she has a good friend. Looks like ex-Jehovah's Witness curious, Pete. Looks like she might be bringing him on. So we're looking forward to that. We love to hear from Pete, see what's going on in his world. So if you guys just stay with us here shortly, we'll get to Pete. We'll get to Apostasy Babe. And she'll be burning the midnight oil tonight. People have been wondering, where is Apostasy Babe? But she'll be on with us here very shortly. Well, I have to tell you, thank you. I tell you, that was a good call. I really liked this man, Don. He nailed it. I mean, really, the Jehovah's Witnesses are very much like living in North Korea. Do you want that type of life? Seriously? Do you want to be in a communist regime? Well, if you're a witness, you are in a communist regime. You really are. You're really behaving and acting like you're in a communist totalitarian government when you're a Jehovah's Witness. And I really found that very, very fascinating. We had a lot of people listening in tonight, and we're glad you're on with us as well. But don't go anywhere. We still have another program coming up here tonight. It's called Healing After the Watchtower. And that is when we're going to be hearing from Linda James, your favorite apostate. And it looks like she does have Pete ex Jehovah's Witness curious. It looks like he's going to be coming on with her. Always good to hear from Pete. So we're looking forward to Linda coming on here very, very shortly. But friends, I have to tell you, it was a good program tonight. I've been on for a number of hours now. And I have to tell you, I am noticing so many more people coming through, so many more people leaving the Watchtower. They're listening into the program. Many of these people probably are active card-carrying Jehovah's Witnesses, but they're listening in tonight. And I think that's wonderful. That really makes me glad to see that. And I'm sure it makes you happy, too, to see new ones calling in. We had a number of new ones calling into the 6 Screens tonight. And don't you guys give in, up or out. Keep dialing in. And if you're new, we'd love to hear from you. That, you know what that does? I mean, that really radiates confidence. When you guys speak up that have never spoken up before, all of a sudden, whoa, people's ears perk up. We're really paying attention. We love to hear from new ones calling in. So anyways, we're just waiting for, I do believe we have Carol on here, or at least we know her as Carrie on the video suite. Did you want to say something, Carrie? I guess we're cut off. Okay, what we're going to do is I want to reset the program here. So here we go right now. We're cut off right now. We're going to go back on. This happens every 6 hours. Every 6 hours, we are cut off the program. So let's get back on
to the live 6 Screens conference calls. We thank you for joining in.
Yeah, every 6 hours our telephone line goes off, so just stay with us. We'll be right back on.
Talking, press *6 to mute yourself.
And we'll get
Remember,
right back on with our telephone number.
A microphone and picks up on all noises in the background. We hope you enjoy the programs tonight. You will now be placed into the conference.
If you are the host, press star. Please enter your. Thank you. There are 12.
Yeah, what we're going to do is just listen in here. We've got Linda coming on here very shortly. So just hang in with us, and we'll bring you Linda James coming up here tonight.
To get him kind of like, I felt like the spider and he was the fly. I wanted to get him to my trap. I wanted to talk to him about John 8, but
muted.
Linda
Unmuted.
From being stoned because she was an adulterer. I wanted to get to that, but I couldn't. I did mention to him that I had read the Truth book and I had read the Paradise Earth book. And it didn't take him long to do a little stumbling. Said he had to meet the group. And I asked him if he was going to come back. He said he would, but that was about 3 months ago. And he didn't come back. When somebody lets you in, and I'm sure most of the householders now aren't letting people in. They just talking to them at the door and probably slamming a door in their face. But I just thought I'd let the audience know that I had an elder who had a household like myself that knew the Bible, did not want to come back, just not come back. I treated him real nice, offered him a cup of coffee, if he wanted to stay a while. Once he heard that I had read the Truth book, I had read the Paradise Earth book, so all he wanted to do was get out the door, and he's not come back. And that's about 3 months ago. So I just thought I'd lay that on the audience while Rick is doing his technical stuff. Am I being heard?
Yeah, Dick, you're right on with us.
Dick.
Can you hear me, Dick?
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you, Dick.
Yeah, you're here with us, and thank you for filling in. We got Linda coming on. We're just waiting for her to come on. We got Pete XJW Curious coming on as well. So we're going to have a good program in a little bit. So, Dick, you're doing okay out there, huh? Well, I'm not sure.
Rick, really, I'm sorry. I just muted myself, and
all right.
It takes a second to get back on.
Yeah,
things are absolutely wonderful in our lives. I'm so happy to be out here and looking forward to seeing you in June or July.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to, Dick. Boy, I'll tell you what, though, Dick, lately, the people coming into the 6 screens, it's unbelievable. It's like something exploded. And what's happening here is there's so many people leaving, Dick, and they're checking things out here on the 6 screens. Isn't that wonderful?
I think it is. And you have some outstanding guests on. I certainly like to guess that you were talking to about your disfellowshipping. And one of the elders said, "Oh, Rick Ferrin is 90% right." So they turned around. They made up 10%. There was nothing to it. And they disfellowship you on that. As all you did was tell them the truth. That organization calls itself the truth. They hypnotize people with that word. It's the truth. So everything you think you're hearing is the truth. Connie's got a thought.
Hi, Rick.
Hello, Constance.
Hello, dear. Hi, everyone. We've been talking to a gal. I'm sure she wouldn't mind us saying her first name. Her name is Mary Ann, and she had been a JW for 43 years, and we've had some great conversations with her, Rick. She just left like 2021, and she mentioned something very interesting. She said, it's such a slow process to wake up, which it really is. But, Rick, she just loves you, Susan. She loves the whole show and everybody. And she says, if it wasn't for the show, I wouldn't be where I am today. And unfortunately, she has a daughter. The daughter, I guess, is grown. and the daughter just doesn't have anything to do with her. And then now that the mother is out, she reached out to the daughter, and the daughter said, well, I don't care. You know, I still don't want anything to do with you, which I thought was very, very sad. But I think the main point I'd like to just say that I've carried away from the couple of hours that we've spoken to her is that she was just saying how the show has been so instrumental in helping her, and it's a slow process, and the show's been so handy and helpful, and she can see it, Rick, she can see it clear as day as how evil the organization is and how it's changed. She started coming into the organization when I did in the early 70s with the Truth Book and everything, but she was in for 43 years, Rick, and she just left 2021. I just wanted to be sure that you knew that, and your listeners too, because every little piece, you know, is really helping people. We know there's a lot of JWs or PMOs that are listening in, Rick. I mean, you know, it made my heart just so happy to hear that, you know, she just left like 2021. It's unbelievable, and she's doing great. So I just wanted to share that love with you and everyone. Thank you, Rick.
That's really good news. And what I want to really emphasize here to people listening in tonight, you know, if you're a caller and you come in like Constance and Dick, they're regular callers, and we have a number of them that come in all the time. You know something, those people make a real difference too. You know, I'm the moderator, I'm the facilitator here at the 6 screens, and I try to keep everything in order. But, you know, it's really the people, the contributors, so to speak, that come in and give their feelings on what's going on. Dick and Constance and Randy M. Abused and Susan and Anne Marie and all the different people that come in and comment. You don't realize, I mean, that really makes all the difference in the world. So that makes me so happy when people can come in and comment. We have Carrie from the 6 Screens Video Suite and Zach. They come in. That I'll tell you what, that means more to me than anything you could possibly do. That just makes my heart so glad when we hear all these people coming in and talking on the 6 screens. That is what.
Hey, Rick?
Yeah, yes, Carrie.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was waiting for my second. I just wanted to say, you know, I come in here every week, but it keeps reminding me of that old saying, if you build it, they will come. You built it, they came, and they keep coming, and every single week there's new people. It's amazing, all these new people. And I congratulate you.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing. I'm happy myself. And, you know, I've been touched by the tentacles too. So, you know, it's also therapeutic for me and everyone listening in. So all of us together is like sitting around the couch. It's like one big family, so to speak. We sit around the couch and we all talk with each other. I mean, that's a wonderful thing to be able to do that. So it's really working. Thank you,
Yes,
Karen.
it is.
It's working.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it, and everybody else does. We're here every week. So thank you very much for your show. Now I'm going to mute.
Well, thank you. So, no, Carrie's right. But, you know, like I was saying at the outset, is that, you know, the people calling, and then that's why I want to encourage all of you, you know, whether you're in the 6 Screens Video Suite, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of the different platforms that we broadcast on, you know, you guys got the number. Call in. Let us know what you think. The number's right on there. You can see it. And that is so important. You can help so many people. It's not just me sitting here bloviating all Saturday night long. When people call in, whoa, it just excites people. So just keep on doing that. Okay, it looks like we do have, looks like Gilbert Gonzalez. My goodness gracious, Gilbert, what do you have to say?
Hey, Rick, I just wanted to tell you, you know, I wanted to make that comment about the North Korea thing. You know, a guy by the name of George Norrie, he took over Coast to Coast and the radio show, and he said something a long time ago that I never forgot. He says there's no such thing as coincidences. And I used to think he was crazy. As a young man, thinking, of course there's coincidences. But as I get older and I have gray hairs, I'm like, you know what, Rick? There's no coincidences in life. Birds of a feather flock together. You see things that make sense. And I just want the listening audience, and for you too, if you go to Google, Bing, any search engine, type in the word North Korea and note-taking or taking notes, and you look at the images. Just look at the images of North Koreans, generals, and they're taking notes, and everything that the dictator is saying, they're like, oh, wow, let me jot this down. It's so funny. But the lesson is you have to trust your gut instinct. That's my message to the listening audience. When you start seeing coincidences, it's not a coincidence. Birds of a feather flock together. So people who have very bad personalities or very harmful traits, they share it. So, you could be in Japan, in Australia, in Chile, and in Russia, 4 or 5 different people, but they all have these same characteristics, these same mannerisms, and it's not a coincidence. It's like that's what I'm trying to tell you and the listening audience. When you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're looking at these things, they're not coincidences. They're traits of birds of a feather flock together. Evil people do the same thing. So I don't know. Does that make any sense? Or?
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, Gilbert. I mean, you're a sensible-minded man. That makes a lot of sense to me. Yes.
Yeah. So I just ask that you do that. Just go to any search engine and type in the word North Korea and note-taking, and you're going to be like, your mind's going to be blown away. You're like, oh my God, they're Jehovah's Witnesses. And it's true. The whole world has become one big Jehovah's Witness religion. Yeah. That's what it feels like, now that I'm out.
Yeah.
I see the similarities. Yeah.
Oh, so many similarities. Well, thank you for commenting on that. Really appreciate it. Well, thank you, Gilbert. Always good to hear from Gilbert. You're a good man, Gilbert. Don't you ever change. Thank you. All right. So anyways, well, we got to go. We got Apostasy Babe. We got Curious Pete. He's coming on here tonight with her, it looks like. So we're going to have to end this program here. And let me just make sure everything's all set over there and getting ready to bring on Apostasy Babe and Pete. Pete, my goodness, you got to love Pete. He's he's XJW Curious. He'll be coming on, so we're looking forward to that. So hang in here with us. Mike, did you want to say something? Michael King, did you want to say something before we quit?
Yeah, I want to say something to Gilbert. In the Hebrew language, which is God's language, there's no word for coincidence. It's all orchestrated by God.
Well, there you go.
I just want to mention that to him.
Well, that's a good comment. It's a good comment. Thank you, Mike. Always good to hear from you, Mike. My goodness. You have a really nice voice. You really, really do. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Well, I mean that. Thank you. I know you're a singer, but you really have a nice radio voice as well. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike, for coming on. All right. So let's see what's going on here. Let's check out Apostasy Babe, and then we're gonna end this program. Yeah, she's on. We got Apostasy Babe on. We got Pete, ex-Jehovah's Witness Curious. So let's end our 6 Queens of the Watchtower conference call. We want to thank Don Brown for coming on and sharing his book with us. We want to thank all the people for coming on tonight and being with us. We really appreciate it. Boy, I'll tell you what, things are really moving forward here on the 6 Screens. More and more people coming in listening. Thank you all for listening tonight. And I want to give a double thanks for all those people that have called in. So we're going to end the program right here. And we're going to our next program. We have to move over to the next studio. And if you never listened to Apostasy Babe, that's Linda James. She's your favorite apostate. She's coming on next. Yeah, don't miss her. Right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. So let's end this program right here. Thank you for coming in tonight. Really appreciate it. All right.